Hi, I'm Charles with Handicap. Previously, Bai was accepted as a disciple to become an immortal. In the immortal realm, Bai would discover that his chosen walk is able to double the power of anything he puts in it. However, he loses some lifespan when he does. Later, Bai struggles to collect ki inside the fallen sword abyss, and finds that it's because his egg keeps consuming it. Nearby, Song would come to think that he will be the first to reach Foundation establishment, but is shocked to find that the power of the tide has actually gone to Bai. The story continues moments before Bai receives the power of the tide, and we watch as other participants fight for nearby resources. They all hope to be the first to reach Foundation establishment, but are surprised to see that someone has seemingly beaten them to it. Everyone is certain that it is Song since he is the most powerful amongst them, but Song himself is shocked when he realizes that Bai is the one merging with the first tide level. Song won't allow him to gain the upper hand though, and uses a mysterious technique. Onlookers are amazed to see that another tide has formed, and Jindao points out that it is Song's blood sector technique. Under the first tide, we see that Bai is confident since merging the earthly vein ki with his own spiritual energy isn't too difficult at all. The two will become whirlpools that gather together to form a tide, and all he will have to do is temper the tide into a spiritual sea. He gets a bit overconfident about being the first to reach Foundation establishment, and is shocked to see someone else's tide absorbing his earthly vein ki. He then remembers that Lee warned him not to become complacent once he began his Foundation establishment, since tides will compete with each other for Earth Ki. Furthermore, the number of tides he manages to activate will determine the level of the Foundation establishment that he will receive. The higher the tide level, the more advanced the skill needs to be in order to activate it, and every move needs to be perfect or the entire process will be ruined. Bai uses his purple ki transformed cauldron, and then his dragon elephant sea transformation technique, which makes everyone realize that the person receiving the golden tide is Bai. Other cultivators nearby use their secret techniques as well, and others notice that the first batch of tides inside the fallen sword were all activated by the top chosen of the 4 sectors. Bai states that he just completed the 4th level of the tide, and will now begin the 5th, but finds that he is held in place by shackles. He struggles to free himself, but decides that it's time to use some earthly vein ki, and tries to absorb some. However, he notices that someone next to him is using this chance to steal his earthly vein ki, and Bai demands that they stop. Sean watches as Bai's ki is completely drained away, and acknowledges Bai's strength, but points out that this time his opponent is Song. Sean plans to let everyone else use up all their energy before making his move, but is interrupted by Tidan. Nearby, a second batch attempting to reach Foundation establishment starts, and Sean thinks about draining them with a tide of his own, but quickly finds that he isn't the only one with the idea. Song continues taking in earthly vein ki as he explains that Bai's tide is done for. However, just then he realizes that something is wrong, and notices that a small creature has taken some earthly vein ki from his tide. Back at the golden tide, Bai attempts to break free from the shackles, and reminds himself of his goal to become immortal. He is more motivated than ever, and proclaims that even without any earthly vein ki, he will break free. This proves to be far more difficult than he thought, as he is about to faint, but lucks out when his adopted egg son arrives to provide him with some earthly vein ki that he stole. With his newly restored power, Bai breaks free from the shackles, and praises the little egg for the help. Just then, Bai notices that the 5th level of his tide has come to an end, and Song points out how weak Bai's 5th level was since he didn't use a secret technique during it. Bai's Foundation establishment won't last much longer if he doesn't use more techniques. He is nowhere close to giving up though, and states that he will show everyone something incredibly powerful. Bai uses the technique he believes will help him achieve a perfect level 6 tide, but everyone seems disappointed when it doesn't look very special. Fanglin points out how Bai's cauldron activated his 2nd and 3rd tide levels. Bai's dragon elephant technique activated the 4th, and now his wetland kingdom should activate the 6th and 7th tide levels. Those are all the techniques Bai knows though, and it's clear that he won't be able to go any further. The other disciples mock Bai for not making the best of the top secret technique in the spirit sector, and Tianyu explains that he would have reached the peak of the Foundation establishment in just one move if he had the wetland kingdom technique. Bai wrongly assumed his dragon elephant would get him into higher levels of the tide, and he remembers how Lee told him that higher levels will require stronger techniques to activate. Bai confidently states that it is now time, and astonishes everyone when he shows the true strength of his Wetland Kingdom technique. The move is extremely powerful, and the other chosen are stunned when they realize that their ki is being taken away by Bai. The Fallen Sword Abyss has very limited supply of Earthly Vein Ki, and Tianyu is furious about Bai draining other people's tide power. Even more shocking is that Bai's 8th tide level is beginning to take form, and Song reveals that if he manages to do it, then all the Earthly Vein Ki will be absorbed by him. None of the other chosen from the other sectors will allow this to happen, so they all instruct their groups to immediately kill Bai. They all refuse to let Bai reach Foundation Establishment, and all the disciples begin to swarm him. Sean is nearby, and his attempt to steal some Earthly Vein Ki is interrupted when he is startled by the sheer number of disciples going after Bai. Bai's lookalike is heading to him as well, but notices that traps have been set everywhere. The poison seems to be making everyone lose their minds, and Yizan can only wonder how many traps Bai had set. Some disciples finally manage to reach Bai, but are surprised to see that he used 1,000 superior quality talisman seals as a defense. Bai watches comfortably from inside, but realizes that the barrier won't last long, and he must speed up the flow of his technique to complete the 8th tide level. He attempts to do so by using his undying power, and shocks everyone when he achieves the 9th tide level, the peak of the Earthly Vein. Bai's fellow sector members are surprised to see that Hu Yun has stopped his own Foundation establishment so that he and the others can protect Bai together. Nearby, some disciples point out that reaching peak Earthly Foundation establishment can cause a person to lose their rationale, and they begin to wonder if Bai will end up like Master Wuji, who went on a rampage. Jin Dao is furious as his 7th tide level was taken away by Bai, and Fang Lin is mad for a similar reason. Just then, the disciples successfully break Bai's barrier and charge to kill him. Bai points out that his undying power has activated the 9th tide level, and he still can't control his body. He begins to think waiting to die is his only option, but we see that Hu Yun has arrived to help protect him. Jin Dao explains that his brother is headed for Bai as well, but we see that Fang Lin is stopped by Wan. She plans to defend her fellow Spirit Sector member, but Fang Lin is ready to send them both to the underworld. Jin Dao has easily defeated the group he was fighting, but Hu Yun swears to live or die together with his comrade Bai. Bai is concentrating as much as he can, but can also sense Hu Yun and Wan somewhere close by. Back at the fight, Hu Yun is gravely injured but refuses to give up. Fang Lin points out that Bai is simply a living target now, and the only difference between him and Bai is that he will be the first to die. Hu Yun finds a power inside himself as he remembers how Bai sacrificed his life to save him during the Lucian incident, and proclaims that this time he will protect Bai. Hu Yun prepares for his frightening attack as Fang Lin points out how he is burning his life energy to do so. Hu Yun is about to sacrifice his own life with a move called Soul Destruction, but stops when Beihan Li surprisingly arrives to join the fight. He is a northerner, which are known for hating Bai, but he explains that anytime someone wants to kill a fellow Spirit Stream Sector disciple, they must ask for his permission first. Nearby, Wan has also taken a beating, but warns that Jin Dao shouldn't even think about killing her fellow sector members. Jin Dao easily stops her though, telling her not to throw away her life, and explains that he is doing them all a favor. He is certain Bai will lose his mind if he completes the 9th tide level, and achieves peak Earthly Vein, just like Master Wuji did 800 years ago. Wuji's intelligence was wiped away by the power of the 9th tide level. He fell into madness and slaughtered everyone in the abyss. Wan is certain Bai won't end up that way and states that she believes in him. Beihan Li is in bad shape as well, and told the same thing about Bai, but he finally acknowledges that Bai is the future hope of the Spirit Stream sector. Beihan Li pays the price for speaking up, and Wan does as well when she is thrown off a cliff. Bai struggles with his emotions as he is unable to move, but can sense that his comrades are being killed. Fang Lin finally reaches Bai and unleashes a massive attack that breaks Bai's divine shield. He is certain that Bai is done for, with nothing left to protect him, but is shocked when Bai begins to consume his spiritual energy and eventually absorbs him. Everyone is then horrified to see that a bloody light is swallowing the sky, and it matches what happened 800 years ago when Wuji lost control. Just then, Bai reveals himself, and Jin Dao instructs all the disciples to attack him now when his foundation has yet to stabilize. Bai explains that savage beasts like them have no right to kill him, and demonstrates unmatched power that has never been seen before. Something about Bai is very different though, as he violently eliminates all his opponents, and fleeing disciples are certain that a demon has entered their world. Jin Dao is frightened to see what the power of peak Earthly Vein actually looks like, as Bai ruthlessly eliminates anyone in front of him. Bai explains that he has only ever cultivated to extend his life, and doesn't want to fight or kill people. However, Jin Dao and the others have cut off his Foundation establishment and hurt his friends, so now they must all die. Jin Dao's feeble attempts at attacking Bai are pitiful, and Bai devastates him with a ferocious attack. Jin Dao prepares his most powerful attack, but Bai moves at an incredible speed to stop him and completely end his life. Bai is completely victorious in battle, and we see that Yi Zhang watches, exclaiming that history has somehow still managed to repeat itself, as Bai is the second Master Wuji. Just then, Bai calms down and goes to check on his friends. Beihan Li reveals that Hu Yun burned his own life force to stop Jin Dao, and it's a miracle that he is still alive. Bai takes responsibility for what has happened and begins to immediately heal his friend. He notices a Blood Sector disciple attempting to escape and attacks him, but is surprised to see that Ziyang turned into a mask. Hu Yun finally wakes up, but gives Bai the bad news about how all their comrades had fallen in battle, including Wan. Bai tells Hu Yun to leave everything to him as he needs to recover, and turns to look at the main culprit, Song. Song wants to complete his 8th tide level, but Bai explains that there are consequences for evil deeds. Bai vows to cut off his tide and absorb Song's ki to temporarily re-establish his foundation. Song states that it's too late though, and no one can stop him now. Everyone is shocked to see Song attempt to forcibly activate the 9th tide level, since there clearly isn't enough ki left in the Fallen Sword Abyss. If he is successful, there will definitely be bloodshed, so Beihan Li asks Bai to stop Song while he protects the others. Song is very close to his goal, and the little girl from earlier watches as she is surprised to see someone finally get this far after 800 years. However, Bai arrives and calls Song a despicable creature for interrupting his Foundation establishment several times and for brutally hurting his innocent sector members. Bai severs Song's Foundation establishment and is glad to see that his fellow sector members are now able to continue theirs. Bai isn't finished with Song, but Song shows that he has a trick up his sleeve. Song uses his compass and shocks everyone as he begins to activate the Heavenly Vein key. The disbelief continues since the legendary Heavenly Vein has finally been confirmed to actually be real. Once a person achieves the Heavenly Vein Foundation level, they will be at a supreme level which can't be reached any other way. Bai knows that the Heavenly Vein will add another 500 years to his lifespan, and tells Song that he will be taking it from him. Song manages to stop Bai for a moment, but this only results in a fight between the two powerful disciples. The battle intensifies as the two are evenly matched, and we see that the Heavenly Vein is quickly nearing its activation. The fight rages on, with Song going airborne to attempt an attack on Bai. The two are locked in place as they struggle for the upper hand, and Song is surprised to see that Bai actually withstood the attack. Song wonders if Bai still has some type of hidden protection, but then decides to use the Blood Sector's secret technique to end the fight now. The technique is called the Blood Killer World, and Song uses its single strike God Destroyer to attack Bai with the immense sword. Bai attempts to stop the attack but takes a lot of damage, just as the ground beneath his feet gives in. Song extends himself to finally achieve Heavenly Vein Foundation establishment, but is shocked to see that Bai's Wetland Kingdom technique has stopped him. Song is completely defeated, and his compass has finally activated the Heavenly Path to Foundation establishment. Heavenly Vein Key is being absorbed, and we see that the recipient is Bai. Bai states how strange it is to feel time and space, while his 5 senses and cultivation are also continually increasing. He can feel that he is surpassing the limitation of life, and proclaims that he now has the ability to annihilate the world with a snap of his fingers. Onlookers state how the world won't be able to sustain itself much longer, and everyone must get out as soon as possible. They are glad to see that Bai has returned, and hope that he has some type of plan to save them. Bai transports everyone out, but Huyan explains that even though he has searched everywhere, Wan is still missing. Bai sends him off and vows to find Wan as soon as possible. He descends the cliff in search of her, but there are no signs of Wan having been there. However, just then, the fiend spirit from earlier reveals herself to explain that thanks to Bai, she is now free and unrestrained. As a reward for his help, the girl explains that she will be making Bai stay there with her forever. She attempts to attack Bai, but he once again uses a jade pendant to stop her. The girl refuses to stop though and unleashes another attack, but it is stopped by Tidan. She is shocked to see that the little creature is actually with Bai, and that it has somehow helped him get away. Bai is nowhere to be found, but we do get a quick glimpse of the missing Wan. Thanks for watching part 11, 6,000 likes and only you want a part 12. Also, all of the parts are in a link comment below.